So we need to do like a worm program, and the worm program is set up where you have the screen, a worm that's placed right here, another worm, dot, 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 until you have the final worm that is placed on the other end of the screen. And the number of worms that you have is going to be numCircle's number of worms, which is equal to 15. Okay, so then you might think right away, like, okay, well, the radius of these circles is 15, but it's not. That's just the number of circles. So you need to calculate, first of all, the radius of each circle, which is pretty straightforward if you think about it, because you know this value here, right? Here's 0. And then this value here is get width. So to figure out how wide each circle is going to be, you just take get width. So if I say radius is equal to get width divided by numCircles, right? And that's going to give you how wide each circle is, or the diameter of each circle, because we're splitting up the width of the screen by 15, which would be from here to here. So if we want the radius, which we need to give to the circle constructor, we need to multiply the numCircles. Multiply the denominator by 2. All right, so that's going to calculate the radius, and that'll give us this value here. Okay, so great. We have our var radius. It's at the top of the program, right? It's global. And then we have our function start. And then in our function start, what do we need to do? We need to make our circle, but we're going to be making our circles in a for loop. So we're going to have for I is equal to 0 up to numCircles, right? So we're going to have 15 iterations of this for loop. And inside, we need to create a circle. So we're going to say var circle is equal to new circle. And inside of here, we're going to say radius. Okay, so good. And then we're going to need to do a set position. So we do we do circle dot set position. And the set position on the circle is tricky because the y is always the same. The y is the center of the screen, right? And we know this value here is get height. So then that means this value here would be get height divided by 2. So then that's what we're going to do right here, right? Get height divided by 2. And then the x, though, the x changes value every iteration of the for loop, right? So first it's here, then it's here, then it's here, and so on, right? So then the trick to this is using a counting variable. And a counting variable is like a concept that is critical to computer science, right? So it's something that you have to learn, you have to know, and you have to be able to use it in future instances, okay? So how does the counting variable work? Well, we're going to say var x position is going to be equal to r, right? Why? Because we're going to use this x position variable here as our first argument for set position. Set position takes the x position and the y position. So we come up here, we calculate, let's say we start running our program. We come up here, we calculate radius, and then we set xpos equal to radius. And why? Because when we enter into the start function, we are going to come into this for loop, and then we're going to make our first circle, and the first circle is going to be placed at x position. So what should we set the x position variable to in the very beginning? We set it to this point right here. And what is this point? This is radius. Okay, so that gets our first position, our first circle in the right position, and then we add the c, right? After we add the c, we need to change the x position variable from radius to this location here, right? And so how do we do that? We say xpos is equal to the old value of xpos plus this distance right here. And what is this distance? Well, it is 2 radius, right? So it's 1 radius, 2 radius. It is a diameter, right? You might be thinking in your head, oh, I just increment it by radius, but that would mean the center of the next circle would be right here, drawing the circle like that. And that is not what we want. We want the next circle here sitting next to the previous circle. And in order to get that effect, we need to increment or add the diameter of the circle to the old xpos, right? So here we're on xpos, and we got to add the diameter. So how does that go? That's radius times 2. Okay. So if we have this set up this way and we run it, what is it going to do? It's going to first calculate r. R is going to be something like 18. And then we're going to set xpos equal to r, which is 18. We come into the for loop. We make our circle at the right radius, which is 18. We set pos of that first circle at 18. We add it, and then we increment xpos to xpos plus diameter, which sets up the set position for the next iteration of the for loop. So this counting variable concept means you have the same variable on both sides of the equal sign, and then however much you want to add or subtract the variable goes to the right of it, right? So if I had plus 10 here, what would happen? And let's say like I set xpos equal to 0, right? We come in, xpos is equal to 0, and then I say 0 plus 10. So xpos is equal to 10 now. I come back into the for loop, xpos is now 10, plus 10 is 20, right? So xpos is equal to 20. I come back in, xpos is now equal to 30, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70. So if you need a counting variable, you got to have the variable on both sides of the equal sign and how much you want to increase or decrease on the right side. Of course, if you want to decrease, you're going to subtract. If you're going to increase, you're going to add, right? So that's what this is about, and you're going to get a lot more practice using the counting variable in future exercises.